Now, for too long, Washington, D.C. has been the center of American politics. It used to be a place where politicians needed to meet in order to accomplish the business of America, needed to formulate national policies and foreign policy in particular. But now it's nothing more than a place for corrupt politicians to meet and to meet with lobbyists and their corporate backers and to fleece the Americans out of trillions of dollars in taxpayer funds without any oversight or accountability. I believe that we need to break up the two-party system, stop supporting the Republican Party, stop supporting the Democratic Party, start supporting individuals that care about the country, that care about making a difference for all of us and can speak with us person to person and represent us and our values, which are not being echoed in Washington. The United States no longer has a representative republic as far as I'm concerned. These politicians in Washington, D.C., for the most part, are all in it for themselves. They are engaging in insider trading. They are not experiencing the consequences of their actions. They are insulated. They're in a bubble. They're in a swamp. And they are incestuous in the ways that they have corrupted all aspects of the United States government. And now they're openly weaponizing them against critics, against those who want to call them out for their corrupt actions. They want to engage in big tech censorship. They want to be our thought police and to be the ministry of truth in the United States. So while we have a few bastions left in the United States where we can have freedom of thought, where we can have freedom of speech, and we can talk about freedom of assembly, we need to capitalize on it now. This next year and a half, roughly, will be a pivotal period in American history because the last few years of the Biden presidency has been unprecedented in the way that has exposed the deep-seated rot in Washington, D.C. The mask is off, like I said. Everybody can see it for what it is. It's truly ugly. And the reaction to the monster from the U.S. media has been to pretend that the monster is not there, that it's not in the room with us. But we know it's there. We can all see it. Now, we all have different opinions about what to do about it. And we can have a great discussion. You know, you can comment to me anytime at Twitter at Kyle N.A. Becker, or you can send me messages however you like, and we can discuss this on how to address this together. But I think the important point is that we have to start taking action to pull away from these corrupt institutions and not just look to reform them anymore, but to jettison them, to get rid of them, to ignore them, to go around them. That's what I'm doing here with my podcasting and with my media. I got tired of complaining about the corrupt media. I want to try to replace the corrupt media. So take what I'm doing as an example for you and for others. You know, go and express your opinion, not just on podcasting and also with social media, the tools that are there. We're going to also have to get used to talking to each other face to face and person to person. The American founding fathers, they met in taverns. They would have a beer and they would talk about what to do about the British and the redcoats. We have to be prepared to do that because we don't know how long a free internet, relatively speaking, is even going to be there for us as a tool. So get out there, start talking to your fellow Americans. Don't be afraid to make political comments because there's nothing more important to talk about right now. Talking about American Idol or what you saw on television, it's not going to make a difference in the long run. It's not going to help your children. It's not going to help the country. We need to be in this together. And sure, we have different perspectives, but I think we can come to basic agreements together. Here's the basic agreements that we can come to. First of all, there's a corrupt media in this country that's not telling us the truth. And that is mostly the corporate media. They have been lying to us about Biden, about COVID policies, about election integrity, and the supposed insurrection on J6. They are not being honest. They're trying to craft narratives and get us all to buy into the narratives and then overlook facts that don't fit their narrative or just call those facts outright misinformation or part of a conspiracy theory. This is not going to work anymore. We need to talk to each other and go around the media that is trying to shape these narratives and force us to buy into them. Let's talk to each other in more plain language. Stop talking in political jargon. Get real about what is going on. The second thing we can agree on is the United States of America, as we believed it existed no longer exists. It's more like the United Corporations of America. Let's get real. BlackRock and Vanguard and a number of other corporations are trying to run the United States like one of its conglomerates. This is not what the United States is about. We have to have a free market, which that hasn't existed in this country for a long time. I mean, the beginning of this was Obama's bailouts. The Federal Reserve, as a central bank, has been manipulating the dollar for generations and has cut the value of a dollar by about 25 times since 1963, since JFK was around. So that is hurting Americans right now. If you couldn't go on a vacation under Biden, blame your weakened dollar. That is really what's showing up in the inflation that we're seeing. And the interest rates that were at zero for a long time, and the bubbles and all of these things are a reflection of the Federal Reserve's manipulation of our economy. So the corporations and the Federal Reserve are rigging the economy. They are not reflective of the values that this country was founded on. And I think the left and the right, like even Occupy Wall Street and those people who are in the Tea Party, they pretty much agreed on that. So let's get a little bit more sensible about what we do about this corporatism. Now, I could give you an example, like Elizabeth Warren. She is right on some things like campaign financing and preventing sitting Congress members from trading stocks. You know, it has to be in a blind trust and you're not allowed to make any actions or have any insider trading at all. And I think she's one of the best senators who have spoken out about this issue. So we need to think about how the money in politics is corrupting everything in our system. It's warping our system. It's drowning out our voices. And it's some people who say, you know, like Citizens United, that money is speech. This is a very simplistic view. I mean, this is something that corporations love. And we need to get a little bit more serious. We have tools that didn't exist when these campaign finance laws were there. We have an internet. We have means for politicians, potential representatives in elections to make their case, to state their policies and their platform and to the American people. And we need to get a little bit more innovative about how we level the playing field so that politicians represent the people and they don't represent their corporate backers or radical groups or unions or whoever is backing them. Because we need regular citizens to be representative. That is what it means to have a democratic country. That's where all the citizens are represented, not just in special interest groups. So I think like both the so-called right and left, which is a false paradigm, much like what I was arguing about the Republicans and Democrats are false choices in our elections, we need to reject those false narratives and paradigms and really be proactive and work together to develop a new way of approaching our politics. And that will first start with tearing apart those things that are in our way. And I think like the two-party system is the primary thing right now that has locked us into a false way of seeing our politics. That's why I think Trump, who has support outside of the Republican base, and RFK Jr., who has support outside of the Democratic base, can blow the system up by running third party. Now, I don't think Trump will do that because he has the Republicans sort of on its knees, but the Republican Party has done nothing but try to subvert Trump from the very beginning. They gave him bad advice on who to have as advisors, how to run his presidency. They sabotaged him over and over again, including, I would argue, Mike Pence on January 6th, putting out false narratives about the Electoral College. It's been very harmful to him and to Trump supporters. So he needs to go around this system, in my view. He is big enough as a personality to go around this system and to talk to independents. And that would convince even more non-Republican or Democrat inclined voters to come over to his side. RFK Jr. could do the same thing. And he's, frankly, the more likely person to do this in this case for the reasons stated above. But he can persuade people that Biden is not up for the job and that RFK Jr., who when he's given the opportunity to speak for himself and can provide nuance on the policies that he supports, very important to note. Don't just take the headline banners about RFK Jr. He can explain his policies about COVID vaccines and other vaccines for himself in a way that doesn't sound strange or kooky. He can talk about climate change in a way that makes sense. How his view evolved, that he believed that climate change was an issue, but he also believed that it has been hijacked by radical groups and by the United Nations, for example, and is turned into a racket. I mean, that's another compelling argument. It's at least respectable. And what the Republican Party and what the Democratic Party is doing right now in this country is not respectable. The Democratic Party is running roughshod over our democratic republic, and the Republican Party is complicit in a large degree because it's doing nothing except talking about it. That's not what they were put into office to do. They weren't put there to talk about it. They're put in there to have political action, to oppose the political action of the Democratic Party. So we have fake opposition in the Republican Party to a large degree. I think that's the reality. So that's my view of it. Let's work together to go around the corrupt mainstream media, to go around corrupt corporations. I mean, we see that with now some boycotts are holding these woke corporations to account. Finding a way to maybe engage in trade with one another. Of course, there's Bitcoin. There are a lot of people who are fans of that, but we need a parallel economy. I think there are some people like Tim Pool have talked about that. We need to talk about ways to go around the two-party paradigm and really rebuild this country from the bottom up, together, citizen to citizen, person to person, without the government as our intermediary. It's almost like you refuse to acknowledge that the government has power over you. And this is what civil disobedience is all about. It's what the civil rights movement did in a lot of parts in the 1960s. I mean, there's presidents in America for both the organized left and conservatives, like with the Tea Party movement in the past, that was peaceful and really more about civil disobedience and working together to create better institutions and better organizations. And don't let them get hijacked this time. Don't trust outsiders. Don't trust the Paul Ryans or the Mitch McConnells or people to take over. That's what I mean. You have to get around the party. The parties exist to hijack the power of the people. They don't represent us anymore. They represent ourselves until proven otherwise. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching Relentless with Kyle Becker. If you really like this, subscribe below. You could follow me on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, at Kyle N.A. Becker. But I also encourage you to watch this on Rumble, where some of the Too Hot to Handle content will be there for sure. YouTube is not the best place to get all of my content because I refuse to let a bunch of censors decide what we can talk about and not talk about. So until next time, I hope I see you this week or next week. Just stop in anytime. You can always find me here. And as always, be relentless about your freedom, America.